All right, we are live, and at the moment, I currently got one viewer, which is you, Silesia Ball. Can you hear me? Dun, 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 dun. Oh, awesome. So, what gonna small talk now for like the first 5 minutes to let people like drop in. Hope it's gonna be a couple people dropping in at least. So, how are you? How you doing? Oh, you can hear me very well. That's great. Is the background music too high or too low, would you say? Okay, 2 weeks back to university. Is it? Do you mean like that they're gonna remove the restrictions that you no longer have gonna have Zoom lectures? No background music. Well then, in that case, I raised the volume a bit. What about now? Okay. Now, can you hear the Minecraft music in the background? Oh, that's good. Just let me know if there's if the background music is too loud. Yeah. So work on my new upcoming video is going well. Okay, and we got 3 viewers. No, only 2. It went up to 3, then immediately went back to 2, and then now only 1. Okay. Oh my god. People jump in and they just about. Okay, 3 minutes in. We only have 1 viewer so far, but that's okay. Where are you going in university, Silesia Ball? Okay, restrictions will be there some days until I drive to university. Okay, right. Yeah, I mean, fuck the restrictions. I had so enough of it. I hate the Zoom lectures because my Wi-Fi in my apartment can't really take them, so... Oh, Silesian... Is that in Poland or in Germany? I don't know which region Silesia is in. I know the Prussians owned Silesia for a while. Mathematics, yeah, that's gonna be hard. You gotta be a smart dude. You gotta be a smart dude, Silesia Ball, if you can do that. Ah, Poland. Okay, so you're Polish, right then? Yeah, you're probably Polish. All right. So we got 2 viewers, and it seems to be stable at the moment. Yeah, so if we currently have 2 viewers, which is better than 1. I'm Swedish, maybe like the awkward dialect kind of gave it away. I'm from Stockholm, initially. Which is kind of like why I make videos about Swedish history, like, okay, we have 4 people watching, that's good. That's kind of why I make Swedish history, like on Gustav Vasa, or as, which I will cover in my new upcoming videos, the sons of Gustav Vasa, and how they kind of like laid the foundation for the Swedish Empire. Alright, we have 5 people, people are dropping in, that's great, that's great. Please let me know in the chat that you're alive. And I got 1 like, that's good. Okay, we're back to 3, up to 4, that's good, good. Yeah, so what I'm gonna do in this live stream is, one, it's gonna be my first live stream because I have always been very reluctant to do streams because I don't think my English is very good when I'm not reading a script. Like, for example, I usually feel nervous when it comes to how we're gonna pronounce the words and stuff like that. But I said, you know, screw it. I'm doing this. So, but what I intend to do in this video is that we're back to one viewer. We're back. What I intend to do in this video is to one kind of partly cover the history of my channel, like how I started, how it's been going, as well as how my future plans for the channel, like what topics I want to cover in the future, and as well as how my upload stage schedule is gonna look. So let's see. I think it's still only you and me, Salishabal. So I'm gonna give it 3 more minutes until I kind of like do the presentation that I wanted to do. Okay, I got 2 people here. My voice is still okay, right? You can hear me. Okay, yes, the connection is good according to YouTube, which is good. Oh, hello there, Douglas. Oh, thank you. I'm happy to hear that my English is fine. Doug from Canada has joined the stream. You're very welcome, Doug, and happy to see you. So, and if you kind of just dropped in, Doug, what I'm intended to use the stream for is to kind of tell you about the history of my channel, as well as my future plans for uploading, as well as subjects to cover. And then I'm thinking about closing it off with like a general ask me anything, where you can, if you have any questions regarding me, as long as it's not too personal, or about the channel, or like my topics on certain things, or if you have a subject you want me to cover. So we have 3210. One da 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 da. Okay, we have 5 viewers at the same time, so, and she's 7, 10 minutes over 7, so I guess I'll kind of just start talking about what I intended to talk about. So, the Quills History channel is a channel that I started in autumn 2016, and it was a very special occasion. I knew that I wanted to make history videos, and my main interest initially was the history of science and religion, and peculiarly then, especially then, science and Christianity. So I knew nothing of After Effects or Photoshop or how YouTube worked, but I had some inspirations from earlier channels that like I took from. So I made my first video in what's the program called? iMovie on my old MacBook, which is like 7 years old now. That video took 3 to 4 months to done, because I was so irritated about my voice, about the dialect, and like just generally how I talked. So it took me 4 months basically till January 2017 to be fully satisfied, to be okay with the video essentially. And I published it around January 13, I think, 2017. I remember the day very specially because is the background music too high, or is it okay? Douglas or Salishabal, can you let me know? Or someone else? Okay, I'm looking at the chat right now. Okay, I can assume it's okay. Yeah, background music's fine. I think the reason is that I have headphones on me that like intensifies the music than if I would use the speakers, but I can't use the speakers because they would mess up with the microphone and stuff. But first video was on Did Christianity Destroyed Greek Philosophy, where I argued that no, it didn't. It sort of preserved it throughout late antiquity and into the Middle Ages. And when I published a video, it got 0 views. And when I mean 0, it's 0, like legit 0, no views at all. It was a complete dud. Then I tried to post it on history forums, but and there I got some views. I think that's especially like History Rum, which is a history forum I published it in 2017. That's where I got my 2 first subscribers. I remember I was so happy, especially when I got that first one. 2017 continues. I make a video about the idea that the Earth was flat in the Middle Ages. Also a dud. Got very little views, no views. I make a video about the Inquisition. No views either. Like no views or like very little views basically. Really bad thumbnails, not that good introduction. My voice, the way I talked back then, it's like, yes, hello, welcome to Quills History. Today we're gonna talk about a subject that I'm clearly so engaged in and excited about. No, now I talk more from like the stomach and from the front of my mouth, and that sounds much better than otherwise. But 2017 was generally like a really hard year for the channel. It was mostly just me throwing my head against the wall like 6 to 10 times until 2018, where I made my video on Hypatia of Alexandria. That was the first video I ever made that actually did well, and it still does well. Like it gathers like 100 views each 24 hours, which is great. 2018, a lot of other good videos. I got my videos on Charlemagne, on Emperor Constantine, which to this day still garners a lot of views. I also learned a bit about thumbnails, as well as how about to write titles and search engine optimization. Which once I applied that to my older videos, especially my videos on the Inquisition, they started to do well. And now they kind of like, they're not as good as the Constantine video and the Hypatia video, yet they are very decent. They get like 50 views each 24 hours rather than 100 views, which is good, and it's something that I aim for. 2018, great year for the channel. Going into 2019, beginning of 2019 until like autumn 2019, great time for the channel. It gathers more and more subscribers, which is really good. Though I never really figured out why the videos were good, even though now I have figured that out, and I will kind of get to that later in the video when I speak about my current like strategy for moving forward. But when I entered the autumn of 2019, I studied intellectual history at university. I was in my second course, and I wanted to write my thesis and my essays about science in medieval Europe, because that was my focus interest. That's what I made YouTube videos about, and that's what I want to study. Here's the thing though, I had to work 2 part-time jobs, which amounted up to like 20 hours in total a month, and that's like 25 to 30 hours if you include the driving time to and from work, because one of the works was in another commune. And yeah, kind of like work on the channel slacked off, and the channel continued to be on the rocks well into 2020. 2020 was a, how to say, 2020 was it started off as a good year for me. It kind of went downhill this summer because it's super hot, and with the restrictions I was just home in my apartment most of the time, and my apartment has no air conditioner and it's super hot, at least for what I'm used to, less as a Swedish person. I hate when it's hot. Like, you live in Sweden to enjoy the cold, not to enjoy the hot. Like, you go to foreign countries for that. But 2020 continues. I make my videos on the Northern Crusades, like especially the Danish Crusades, which I still am very happy for. I think Denmark has a very cool history, even though the Danes... This is something like, you know, you people from outside Scandinavia don't know. Danish people are essentially Swedish people with speaking problems. Like, imagine someone speaking English, but they're not articulating. Like today we're gonna talk. Okay, I can't imitate Danish people. I can joke about Danish people though, because Danish people love to joke about Swedish people for reasons that are mostly justified. So where was I? Yes, 2020 continues. Summer 2020 I did not like. Autumn 2020 I did not feel generally that good, though I kind of like put myself, like, how does it? I don't know what to do. You draw up your bootstraps and you kept pushing on as I entered my master's programs in intellectual history. My dream though in the future is to be a scholar, an intellectual historian. I don't really care in what subject. I just love the craft of history to like really go into, because in Sweden we tend to divide academic subjects very arbitrarily. So we have noble history, which is history about events like how states, wars, trade and stuff. Then we have intellectual history, which is its own discipline in Sweden. That is more about how people have thought about wars, trade, religion, science and stuff. And it's intellectual history that I'm interested in because, sure, normal history, you can like understand how stuff works. But in intellectual history, if you study intellectual history, you really dive down into a different world in a whole different way. Like, you study about how did people categorize stuffs? What language did they use to describe certain things? Like, how did they determine what was a good state versus what was a bad state? And that's something I'm really find interesting. And I'm looking forward to my master thesis, because both the bachelor thesis and the thesis I wrote before that was a blast. I loved it. And I aced them both, so I'm really hoping I will become a scholar. But yeah, anyway, I entered in the master program in autumn 2020, and I'm still on it. Though, some uploading schedule, because I'm still working. I managed to get a better job though, arranging Laser Doom battles, which is such a blast. I have great coworkers, a great boss as well, or I guess two bosses because they're two brothers I arrange for. And I live very close to the place that I work. So 2020 continues. My upload schedules kind of drags out, where like ordinarily it's been like a month between my uploads, and I plan to go back to a month between them. Though in 2020, especially autumn 2020, it got to the point where I had to like take 2 months between uploads. And then I uploaded by, I think, November or December 2020, I uploaded my video on the history of absolute monarchy within Europe. And it's a video that I really look back on, that I really enjoy, because I feel that I added something more with that video. Something that kind of, I added new information based on scholarly literature that I don't think other people had made YouTube videos about yet. And that's something I'm really proud of. I also think the editing the production value was very good in that video. So, and that video does well. Not only does my audience enjoys it, and when I mean the audience, this is something like you subscribers might not be, the few who are listening might not be aware of. And when YouTubers speak of like subscribers, there are ones, yeah, this is subscriber numbers. Like I have like 10,200 subscribers. But then there is the audience, which is the group of people who continues to come back for the new videos. And it's really that group of people that you should care about. It's sure you can have a high subscriber numbers, but if no one if you have no audience, you have a dead channel. Like you might as well have no subscribers. But my audience really liked that video because like it got more audience views than generally. And then I figured out a strategy on how to make videos that I stuck with and that has been very good for the channel. And that kind of brings me into the current future of the channel and where I want the channel to go. So I want to make history videos, of course. I want to make good history videos that where I think that I add some information that other people have not put out there. And sorry, I lost the words. And okay, need to lower the background music a bit because it stops me from thinking. So yeah, so how does YouTube determine what video? Subscriptions are now dead. They work as a number that's nice to be looked at. Yeah, spot on, Silesia Ball. That's absolutely. Like, if you have a subscribe to someone, like, here's the thing. YouTube don't send out notifications to all your subscribers if you're a YouTube channel. It sent out notifications to the subscribers who it thinks will be likely to click on the video. Which is why, like, most of the people who subscribe to me don't click on the videos or even get notified. But you know, it is what it is, and you gotta live with it, and stick with it, of course. So, but then comes the question: what kind of videos do I want to make, and also how do YouTube determines what videos to promote? And this is something I had an like idea about how it works, but I never kind of been able to put words on it. So to break it down, YouTube promotes videos based on three things. One is click-through rate, which is the amount of people, the percentage of people who click on it based on how many people have viewed the thumbnail. So if YouTube promotes the video to 100 people, 10 people clicks on it, those people clicks on it, you have a 10% click-through rate. The second criteria is raw watch time, which is basically like, if you have two videos, one of them is 10 minutes and the other is 30 minutes, and both of them have 50% audience retention, which is mean people in general watch 50% of each video. The 10-minute video will have a Jokanan Andreas. Hi man, love your work. What's your favorite period that hits you? Thank you, Jokanan. By the way, am I pronouncing your name correct? I'll ask the question very shortly. My favorite period of history. Sorry, I need to leave. Help my wife. No worry, Douglas. Wish you good. Go help your wife. And I wish you have a great evening or day, depending on where you live. Johanan. Okay, then I think I got the name right. What's my favorite period of history? This might come as a surprise, but if I would be asked that question, I don't think I have a certain favorite period of history. I can study a lot of different subjects, and kind of like I have a lot of different interests. My main interest, if I would say, it's not a period, but more of a discipline. I like intellectual history. So kind of like, I'm very interested when I write my thesis and essays about what people think about. Like, they can be the history of religion, history of science, history of certain political ideologies. Though, generally, I would say, when it comes to history, I like the craft. So, to give an example, I currently study intellectual history at the university. My main interest when I went into intellectual history was... it was history of science in medieval Europe. However, once it came to like reading that I was gonna have to write my thesis, I realized that I could not write about intellectual history in medieval Europe, because in order to do that, I need to be able to read and write in Latin, and I did not have the time to learn that. So what I then asked myself was that, okay, I need to write a thesis. What can be written about, and what can I write a good thesis on? And then I asked, okay, I know a lot about 18th century history, and I know a bit about Swedish 18th century history. So that kind of became the subject that I wrote about. And then that became my favorite subject for a while. I didn't know how to make a video on it, but that became my main subject. My favorite subject for a while. Then, like, Swedish early modern history has become a subject, that period in history that I've been very interested in. Yeah, was that an answer? I'm not sure. I hope it was, but... By the way, is the stream lagging? Can you hear me? Because it's loading. So I don't know. I have a lot of interest. There's a lot of interesting periods in history, and okay, good. It's fine. Thank you, Johanan and Salishable. So yeah, my favorite period in history. I don't really have one. Like, so. So to continue, YouTube, like, partly they want click-through rate, raw watch time, which means if you have a longer videos, YouTube will tend to promote them, because longer videos, just by virtue of being long, can accumulate more raw watch time. Like, if I have two videos and one is 10 minutes, the other is 30 minutes, and both of them people tend to watch 50% of them on average, YouTube's gonna promote the 30-minute video over the 10-minute video, simply because the 30-minute video gives YouTube on average 15 minutes raw watch time, whereas the shorter video, like the 10-minute videos, gives YouTube on average 5-minute watch times. So you gotta have high click rate, high watch time, and then you're gonna have those two values higher than the competition. So the strategy that I intend to develop from that is that I can't make like 30-minute videos or like 45-minute videos, simply because I work and I also study. So I can't make those. But what I'm planning to do is that I will publish 10 to 15-minute videos, like a 2-3-part series, and then once each part been published, tie them together into one longer part, like a documentary style video that will be on like around 30 to 45 minutes, because that video, if someone wants to watch the shorter videos, they can do that, but the longer video, the videos with all the parts tied together, that video will be like, YouTube will promote that much more than the other videos, simply because it gives them more raw watch time. And some of the ideas that I want to make videos about in the future, especially the upcoming year, is one, I'm gonna make a video about the rise of the Swedish Empire, or as I have decided to categorize it, the history of Sweden before the Swedish Empire. And it's gonna cover the history of Sweden between 1560 and 1630. So it's gonna be start at the end of Gustav Vasa. If you've seen that video, like the father of Sweden, the great reformer, like the person who laid the foundation for the empire. It's gonna start with the reign of his sons, as well as like the wars over the Baltic territories, like current-day Estonia, Livonia, because Sweden at that time had a lot of wars with Denmark, of course it's fucking Denmark, Poland, and Russia. And so I will cover that, as well as like the rise of Gustav Adolf, or as kind of like he's known internationally, Gustavus Adolphus. Though it's generally the sons of Gustav Vasa that I'm interested in. They're named like King Eric, King Johann, and King Charles, and they're all very brutal. So that video is in the works, and it's gonna be up by the end of the month. It's actually by the end of September. I can say that with a lot of confidence because it's halfway through the editing process. It's been I've loved to work on that video. It's so fun, and it's so fun to cover Swedish history that I don't know. I feel I have a kind of connection to the history because like I'm a very like Svensson person, which for you foreigners to know, it means like generic Swedish person. Like all the people have a name that ends with son. For example, you know these names like Scarlett Johansson or, you know, Anderson. Those names are initially Swedish, especially Johansson. And the name stems from in the Middle Ages and a lot into the early modern period. The way you would decide surnames in Sweden was that if you're a guy, you took the father's name and you added son. So if you have a dad named Johan, your surname would be Johan plus son, Johansson. Son. And as somewhere in the 18th or 19th century, people stopped doing this and just kept their surnames. And because the women usually basically always took the men's surname, kind of like the surnames on the women's sides stopped being used. Like in the Middle Ages, there were people like, there were like women usually had the surname of insert Swedish female name plus daughter. Gunnarsson. Gunnar Gunnarsson. It's about your mother, Gunnar Gunnarsson. Oh, I love that. Yes. Gunnar Gunnarsson is I love every Swedish crime drama. Like it's always drama. People are always acting super unprofessional, and we dropped to 1 viewer, then up to 4. Gunnar Gunnarsson. So yeah, and we had a lot of migration from Sweden to America in like the late 1800s, and those people brought their surnames with them, which is why you have names like Johansson and Anderson and Gunnarsson. Yeah. So I'm gonna make a 2-part series on the rise of the Swedish Empire. I also want to make a video on the relationship between Enlightenment and Christianity, because as you're probably familiar, like the Enlightenment is generally seen as being opposed to Christianity, and that's true in many aspects. But I can also wanna I want to make a video that gives a more nuanced take on it, and that also lifts up the philosophers in that time that generally are not talked about. Like, for example, we have a couple Enlightenment philosophers in Sweden, or like generally thinkers who came up with good ideas, and all of them were Lutherans. All of them were Christians. Not the way New Atheist thinks. Yeah, absolutely, Johanan. Not the way the New Atheist thinks, or they're kind of the old atheists now. I mean, they're not around. Like, Christopher Hitchens is dead. Sam Harris has become some kind of guru. Daniel Dennett is just being a philosophy professor, and Richard Dawkins I don't know what he does anymore. Yeah, but that's kind of what happens. People talk about the subject for a while, and the subject disappears. Yeah, so I want to make a video about Enlightenment and religion. Richard. He is Richard. King Richard. He is Richard. Yeah. What other videos am I gonna make? I would like to make a video about the origins of Sweden, like as a country. I think it's a very like area where there's not that much. There's history written about it, but there are not that much primary sources. But generally, the origins of Sweden was that there were in the regions around Stockholm and what today is Gothenburg. I think it's different from country to country. For example, in Spain or Poland, the Enlightenment had some Catholic elements, and the new ideas were mostly popularized by priests. Yeah, that may be true. True. And then also, I think people tend to do when they talk about Enlightenment is that they take different categories and like mash them all together. Like to be an Enlightenment philosopher, you have to be. What usually is that you have to be anti-religious, like some deist type. You have to be pro-trade, pro-economic freedom, pro-free speech, and then a third thing, which I don't really remember. But the thing though is that many thinkers in that time like filled like one or two categories. To give an example, the most famous, or I think is more famous in Finland though, is a Enlightenment philosopher, was a Finnish-Swedish priest called Anders Chydenius. He lived in like the mid to late 18th century, and he was a strong Rahul 8-bit. Please confirm you're not a bot. Rahul 2.8 UT. Okay. If you keep doing that, you're not gonna like it. Please confirm you're not a bot. Yeah, but anyway. So, Anders Chydenius, he was a thinker who was pro-religious freedom. He was pro-tolerance of Catholics and stuff like that. He was pro-economic freedom, which was, for those who don't know, 18th century Swedish history is very centered around economics. Very pro-free trade, very pro-market liberty, and also pro-personal liberty, as well as pro-science. But he was also a priest. He was a Lutheran. And for him, like, those values, they were not contradictory for him. So, and he was kind of like aware of like the more anti-religious or anti-Christian streams in his time, but you know, he didn't necessarily see a conflict between his religious beliefs and he was also a royalist, which most Enlightenment thinkers, at least in Sweden, or no, all Enlightenment thinkers in Sweden was. And I think most Enlightenment thinkers, or the people who classify Enlightenment thinkers in general. Okay. Who is this? Salisha Ball Johanan, do you think this is a bot? Yeah, okay. The Hammer of Wrath, the Hammer of Quill. Yep, this is a bot. They should get out of here. The power of Christ compels you out of the chat. Hello, Ramela Noodle. You're okay if I could just call you Ramela? Yeah, perfect. They're great. They're not here. We don't like spammers. Be gone! Gone. I will have no heretical bots in this holy place. Yeah. Yeah, kind of like a fun thing that you probably don't know about is the name Quills History actually, the logo actually came before the name. When I was like creating my channel, or like thinking about my channel in like late 2016, I had some ideas of what I wanted to call it. One was History Time, which I didn't go with, which was great because I would have been outshined by the actual History Time. Another was like History Owl or History Discoveries. But then I searched for a logo. I had no idea what logo I wanted, but I tried to find someone that was could not be copyrighted, or at least that I felt would not be copyrighted. And I found this black Quill logo on a... Yeah, you can actually see it if you click on my earliest video on... What's my goal with this channel? My goal with this channel... I don't know. Initially, my goal was to make a response video to another YouTuber. But I kind of like been past that since long. My goal is to make educational videos that people enjoy watching, and that I think add something new history-wise to YouTuber. Yes, it was History Buffs, and it was his video on Agora. Oh my god. You got me there. Nah, but in terms of like goals, I don't really have that much goals except make good videos that I enjoy making. Chat with great people like you guys, Leisha Ball, Ramela. I'm not sure Ramela's chatting that much, and Johanan. No. Yeah, that's right, Ramela. Yeah. Yeah, it actually was History Buffs that I initially wanted to do a response to. Though, regarding History Buffs, just to be clear, I have nothing against that guy's channel. I think he's probably a great guy. I never met him. And his content is very good, production-wise. I think he should... if he sees this, like, which he won't, because he has much better stuff to do than hang in a small stream with like 5 people, I think you should put some more people to do better research. Like, get a friend to go on like a local university library and like read up on a topic. And I think if like just included more academic literature, because currently I think that he, at least when I watched him, I think he did his research consisted mostly of, and I could be wrong of course, but I think his research consisted mostly of Google searches. And there's nothing necessarily bad with that in of itself, but like if you do Google searches, you can easily like go wrong. And I think his video on Agora, it really should be remade. It really should be remade. I still think there is a lot of claims there in that video that are dubious or false, or or false, or yeah. Though I have nothing against the guy's channel in general. I think the channel is great in many ways. Yeah, absolutely. His videos are entertaining. Like, the production value it was through the roof when he started in 2015. Like, because I think he has, either he does I think he has friends doing the editing for him, and like it was through the roof in 2015, and it still is very high, and they're very well produced, and he's also a very good speaker. Though I think research-wise, I think there's room for improvement. Though I don't care about it in general. And I'm not gonna do a response video to the Agora video, because I think I made the points in many of my other videos that I would make. And also I think it would create a situation where, how to say, people would come just to watch response video and then leave, because like they just kind of like to watch response video, like the drama of it. It would not be drama if I made yeah, but there's not gonna be any response video. Nothing against his channel or any other channel for that matter. But my hope for the channel would be that, not that it will be if we're gonna go back to the question of what's my goal for the channel, it's not gonna be like that I'm gonna go full time with it, because I think it would be fun short term if I could manage to do it. But okay, we have dropped down to 2 viewers at the same time, which is please, everyone who's still here, let me know that you're alive and that there's someone who's listening. Yeah, I would like to hit 100,000 subs someday and make a video that gets 1 million views. That would be really, really, really dope. So that's, you will. Oh, thank you, Johanan. That's, yeah. Well, on computer. Okay, well, the people who are here. And that's now it shows, oh, 6 people, that's good. I didn't have any real expectations for this live stream. I'll be honest, I thought no one was gonna show up because I've not done this before. But it goes much better than I anticipated. It's yeah, much better. So do you guys have any other questions? Like about the channel, about me, just generally? So, and also, like, when I make videos, what languages do you speak? Swedish and English. And I would say that my English is pretty well, because the thing with Sweden is that most people in Sweden are fluent in English, like, because we hear the language all the time. And sometimes things said in English sound so much cooler. The future series for the channel. Yeah, I speak English and Swedish. And I sometimes, when I speak... What's your general opinion of Sigismund Vasa? He would have been a better king than King Charles IX, who took the crown away from him. I think he was one of the people, at least my impressions of him, I've not read that much, is that I don't know, he was a Catholic, but he still tolerated Protestantism and realized that, you know, Poland's gonna have one religion, Sweden's gonna have another, and if I'm gonna be king over both countries, I need to, like, be tolerant of people, so that's good. Also know that when he battled with his uncle, for those listeners who don't know, in the late 16th century, Sweden had a king called Johan. I heard it were the first true legitimist. I don't know what legitimist means. Can you please expand, Silenciable? I never heard the name mentioned in the literature. Yes, but in late 16th century Sweden had a king called Johan III. And Johan was married to the daughter of the king of Poland. And Poland, at this time, was an elective monarchy, which means that the king is elected among the nobility. And Johan then thought, okay, if I can manage to get my son Sigismund as elected as the king of Poland, he will be king of both Poland and Sweden. So Sweden at this time was, like, not officially Protestant, but pretty much in that line. It had broken with the Catholic Church, yet never officially stated this is a Protestant country. But Johan, even though he was Protestant himself, decided to give Sigismund a Catholic upbringing. And he actually managed to win the support of the Polish nobility and get Sigismund elected as the king of Poland, which meant that when he died, Sigismund, the heir though, would have a rule over a personal union with Sweden and Poland having the same king. And that's very cool. However, Sigismund had an uncle called Duke Charles, or Karl, as we say in Sweden. For example, Charles XII is not called Charles XII in Sweden. He's called Karl XII. Charles then didn't like this. He was an ardent Lutheran, or more Calvinist, I think you can say. And he kind of like flamed the fear of Catholicism in Sweden and said that, okay, Sigismund is gonna force the country to begin. Are you perchance a reactionary monarchist? Am I a reactionary? I'm not generally a political person. Okay, yeah, okay, so legitimists believe that there are specific way to inherit the throne, and all who took the throne not according to the rulers are usurpers. Examples in countries: Jacobites for England, Scotland, support for... yeah, they would be classified as legitimists, though that would probably be the case. Actually, they may be the first legitimists in Sweden, because Sweden was an elective monarchy until 1540, so... Yeah, they're probably Sweden's first legitimists then. I can't see, however, what... Yeah, probably the supporters of Sigismund, Sweden's first legitimist. Okay, so to Johannan's question, are you perchance a reactionary monarchists? Question mark. I'm generally not a political person, and even if I would be more a political person, I would not... I don't like the idea of bringing politics into places where I don't think it belong. In terms of like, am I monarchists? I like Sweden is currently a monarchy. We are the head of state is a man named Carl Gustav the 16th, and I like the current system as it is. I wouldn't want it changed for all, but I don't want to use the channel to like insert certain political opinions. For example, when like the the protests and all with BLM started last summer last year, and I saw a lot of like history YouTubers who shall not be mentioned like tweet about it, and like many of them were like, oh, I hate Donald Trump, he's a vile person, human being, or like stuff like that, or stuff about no, Johannan, it's okay. I just, for me, if I would place myself politically, it's probably more like center right for Sweden. So, but I don't want to use the channel as a vehicle to like whine about politics, because I don't think you should bring politics into subjects where it doesn't belong. Like, I don't think you should have political manifestations like in comic books or in YouTube channels. I want Quills History to just be a channel about history. It's not a commentary on any politician or any political movement, and I don't know, like politics is not fun. It divides people, and there's definitely a space to talk politics, but I don't want to talk politics on Quills History. Will I slip? Probably. Yeah, I probably will, but I'm gonna try to stay out of politics. Like, you can be on the right, even like far right or like far left. If you like my content and you like history content, like, you can come here, you can enjoy the history content. Like, you know, depends on like what you write in the chat and stuff. Like, that be if it's very extreme or like very like attacks a certain group, a certain thing, I don't want that to be written. But otherwise, I don't care about people's politics. These people should be here to enjoy history and nothing else. And I think if I would mouth off about politics, I think all of my followers would be alienated. Not only people who would disagree with me, but also people who would agree with me on a certain point, but like don't want to see it. Like, I did not come here to subscribe to you to like watch you talk about politics. So, so that's my answer. Long live Gustav the 16th and fuck politics and history channels. Yeah. Do you have any other questions? Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's go back to Sigismund. So Sweden, then in 1592, King Johan dies. And Sigismund, who currently is the king of Poland, is like supposed to go to Sweden and be crowned as the king of Sweden and rule over both countries as a personal union, even though he would rule from Poland, as I understand it. And he kind of like was a Catholic, but he still understood respected Protestantism in Sweden. Though a war would break out between his uncle, who wanted to be king, as well as his two brothers before him. And his uncle Charles then, he rallied a rebellion and fought against Sigismund. And Sigismund in one battle, I don't know the name of the battle, like Battle of a Bridge somewhere around the city of Linköping, I think. He defeated Charles, but he did not chase after Charles' forces for the reason that he did not want to cause more bloodshed than necessary, because he did not want to alienate like the Swedish people or the Swedish nobility when he was supposed to become king. And I think that's very admirable, because many of the kings of like 16th century Sweden, Gustav Vasa, even though he was a great king in many ways, they were very relentless, very shrewd, had a tendency to throw people they considered a threat to the wolves, even if it had been a person who had been a close supporter of them for years. Also, especially Gustav Vasa had also a tendency to hire mercenaries, but then just ignore paying them and just force them out the country if they cause problems. So yeah, relentless, but maybe sometimes that's a leader a country needs. So anymore, I think one of the problems with him is in Pact Conventa. The documents promise that Oh yeah, okay, so I think one of the problems with him was the Pacta Conventa documents with promises of candidate for throne. He promised to give PLC Estonia. Yeah, so what I understand what you say, Silesia, is that Sigismund promised the nobility of Poland that because Sweden in the late 16th century ruled what is today Estonia, north of Poland, officially belonged to Sweden. And I think even though Poland and Sweden would have the same king, Sigismund promised the Polish nobility that Estonia would become under Polish territory rather than Swedish influence. And that made his father, King Johan, super pissed. And I think that, I think that's also... And I think also that's... I will give a more clear answer when I release the video on it. It's gonna be my... First I'm gonna make a video about King Eric and King Johan. Then I'm gonna make a video about Sigismund, his uncle Charles, in the election to stay in Poland. He promised in the election to stay in Poland? That's probably true. I don't know that. The literature I've read so far have not covered it, but that's probably true. Yeah, I don't know Swedish history when I look back at it, especially from 16, there's so much war. Every single year there's a war. Either it's with Denmark or with Russia or Poland, or Denmark, Russia, Poland at the same time. From I think 1560 to the start of the age, till the fall of the Swedish. Is it true that there is a rivalry between Sweden and Denmark? Historically, yes, absolutely. Sweden and Denmark are both very old countries. Sweden is founded the 13th century. Denmark is founded 10th century, I think. Very old countries have fought more wars between each other than I think any other country in history. And when you read, when you're a kid growing up and reading about history in Sweden, there's always the arch nemesis, and that's Denmark. Though Swedes and Danes, though in the 19th century, from having been rivals, the two countries, Sweden and Denmark, became buddies. Because with nationalism, there was an idea called Scandinavianism, which meant that the countries in Scandinavia should not become one country, but they should be work closer together and like be much more kinder to each other. Okay, Joseph Kroll asks, love your channel. What made you so interested in the history of science in Europe and the relationship between science and Christianity? Would you ever do a wide video about science and another religion? Oh yes, that's a very special topic. So it kind of brings me back to my upbringing. As you people all know, Sweden is in many ways a very secular country. There is a Christian tradition and there is like a specter of Christianity in society. Like most people are members of the Church of Sweden, but very few people go to church, to give an example. And when I grew up, especially in high school between like 2011 to 2014, when we talked about religion, this was like during the high point of like Richard Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, Sam Harris and stuff like that. And I don't have a Christian background, and I don't think I can call myself Christian, even though I'm very sympathetic to Christianity, and I have beliefs that are in line with what Christians would believe, philosophically. When I grew up, Christianity always always got the short end of the stick. It was so popular to dog on Christianity as well as to like talk ill about religion in general, because the class I went in was like generally very secular, society in general. But I always had even if I sometimes agreed with the critique, I always had a sympathy towards Christianity. Even as sometimes I always thought it was, for example, if there was a class and like the class discussed, Islam and terrorism, if someone said something bad about Islam, they always had to turn around and say something bad about Christianity, which I thought was very unfair in general. And then I also been interested in history for a long time. Like when I was a kid, I always wanted to like be a knight. I loved the Lord of the Ring movies, which they're still amazing. I was interested in history, like especially war history, when I was a kid. Then in high school, I started to become more interested in religious history as well as political history, like cultural history and stuff like that. I loved watching those old. We're getting like 9 viewers at the same time. So I love watching those History Channel documentaries. Like with especially those like Rome, Rise and Fall of an Empire. Oh, I was such a fanboy of those. Back in the time when History Channel was actually good rather than like completely insane, which it is today. Aliens built the pyramids. So, yes, but to kind of continue why I'm interested in the relationship between science and Christianity, there is this kind of idea in scholarship in general that Christianity and science have always been in conflict. Like, it's that they want to explain the same phenomena and science gives the better explanation. So there's always been a conflict. Science wins ideally, and religion takes a step back. And I believe that as well for a long time, until I became like 2021, I would say. Around the time before I started the channel, I listened to a lecture. I don't know what it was. It was kind of a podcast from a lecture, if I can say it that way. And the person talked about, I think it was a Swedish intellectual historian who's also a politician. And he mentioned a book called, which I've referred to in my many, especially my older videos, called Galileo Goes to Jail and Other Myths About Science and Religion. And I thought, okay, this sounds very interesting. Like, it's a book about random numbers. It talks a lot about stuff. And I read it and I was like, oh, really? Like, I didn't know this. Like, and I kind of looked at the book. I looked up the authors because, like, are these some crackpot people, like, or pseudo intellectuals? And no. Random Numbers is a leading authority on the relationship between religion and biology. Like, we have Peter Harrison, who is former professor at Oxford. We have David Lindbergh, one of America's, the late David Lindbergh, he passed away in 2015, who was America's leading authority on like the history of science and history of science religion. And I kind of found out that, yeah, much of the stuff I learned in history was like that I kind of grown up with wasn't really true. It just wasn't, or either true or like very slanted. And I read up more on it. I read God and Nature by David Lindbergh, also written by David Lindbergh and Ronan Lumbers. I read a book which I think is called The History of Western Science by the historian of science Edward Grant. I think his name was. I don't know. I have not made a video about the history of read stuff about Peter Harrison, also started watching lectures about these people. And I just become interested in it. And I remember I watched History Buffs. Yeah, okay. So yeah, that's kind of how to answer your name, Joseph, that's kind of like how... yeah, Johanan, Tim O'Neill has a channel. I think his blog is much better, though. I don't think he's good at YouTube. So that's kind of how I became interested in the relationship between science and Christianity. I had sympathy for Christianity, even though I was not a Christian myself, and kind of was interested in history. And I reacted to a video which I think presented a historical topic very badly, which doesn't need to be mentioned, even though my all-time viewers probably know which one it is. Don't know. And to your other question, would I ever do a video about science and another religion? Probably not. I thought about doing like a video about the Islamic Golden Age, like the relationship between philosophy and Islam in the early and, you know, high and late Middle Ages, but I'm not sure if I'm gonna do that. No, I don't think I will do that. Maybe I will, but probably not. So, hope that answered your question. Let's see. I'd love to have the Minecraft music in the background. So, what was gonna... What pushes you to make a series on Charlemagne? What pushed me to make a series about Charlemagne? Do I remember that? I don't know if I remember. Yeah, now I remember. I had just... In 2018, I had learned about search engine optimization, and what that means is that... thank you, Joseph. I really love that I made this stream. I was so reluctant towards it because I usually feel it's very awkward to speak English to just to the screen, but apparently it works well. What pushed me to make a video about Charlemagne? I'd learned about search engine optimization, which is that when I make a video on YouTube, I look at like what subjects do I want to make videos about, but also like what can I make a video about? Because Charlemagne was a cool dude. Yeah, that's about it. Part. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you can go home now. That's the worst one. Charlemagne's a cool dude. I learned about search engine optimization, and I've heard about Charlemagne, or Karl the Great, as he's called in Sweden and Germany, and I think generally like Germanic countries like Sweden, Germany, Denmark, Holland. You're no, Johanan. I'm not talking to the camera. I don't have a camera. I'm just talking to the screen. Like I can see the stats that it started with just me and Sileasiable, and now we're 8 people here in the stream. He said before it dropped to 0. Nah, I love you guys. I learned about search engine optimization, and I had also learned about Charlemagne, which I thought was interesting. And I know there was not that many videos on Charlemagne back in the day, so I made a video. The idea was to make a video series on it, because now I think there are a lot of people who made videos on Charlemagne, but back in 2018 no one had really done. And I thought it was a very impressive person, like this kind of like warlord who created sort of an empire, but not really an empire. So yeah, and I saw an opportunity to make a YouTube series, and yeah, I made the series. I remember that initially it was supposed to, that I like, okay, made part 1, then I make part 2, then I make part 3, then I make part 4. But the thing though, after I made part 1, was that I did not know how to structure the series, because the big early life of Charlemagne, like his conflict with his brothers, the conquest of it, I think that the Holy Roman Empire had great potential. Yeah, sure did. It was holy, it was certainly Roman, and it was an empire, despite what certain French people want to say. Yes, so I made, but initially when I was supposed to make the video, I made the first video and that was good. But after that, I did not know how to structure it. So instead I made that video. Then I made a video about the Kingdom of Jerusalem, which was intended to be a series that I kind of like left to the wayside by now. Then I realized, okay, I can make a video about first his exploits in Spain, and then about his exploits in Germany. And then like the creation of the empire to tie it all up. And then, yeah, so I hope I answered your question, Joseph. Do we have any other questions? So yes. No, but Charlemagne is very cool. This might come as a surprise, I'm generally not interested in early medieval history. Like, I'm Swedish, but I think the Viking are quite overrated. I think there's much more cooler stuff in Sweden. That's kind of the... Yeah, Voltaire can hide with his opinion. Long live cool, long chins empire. Empire F yeah. Empire F yeah. Weird question. Your view on using original meaning for words. YouTubers chase diversity, believe in adopting new meaning, while Tick goes to the etymology. Them very different. I know Shay Diversity. He's an author now, I think. I haven't read this book, but it's supposed to have sold very well. Could you kind of, Martin Guerra, can you kind of write down some examples, what you mean? What's my opinion on Louis the Pious? Yeah, but to Martin first. My view on using original meaning for words. Can you kind of give an example? Usually when especially with names, I try to use the original meaning of... like the original name that, or like the specific way that name is pronounced. For example, if we take my videos on the Northern Crusades, in those videos there are a king called Knud, Knud, and that is Canute. It's pronounced Canute in English, but in Swedish it's called Knut. And in Danish, it's called Knud. Usually, with those sorts of names, I try to pronounce them the original way. For example, I read up that King Johan III of Sweden is called John. King John III of Sweden in English. I'm still gonna call him Johan, because I think that's more accurate. Sometimes I will take an Anglified version. Sometimes take an Anglified version if I think it fits better with the search engine. Like people, for example, let's say I would make a video about Charles XII. In Sweden, he's named Carl, not Charles. His name is Carl. I still would name the video Charles XII something, because people, especially the English people, are searching Charles XII. They're not searching about a king called Carl. So you know, I try to stick to original names. Though if sometimes I'm not sure if that answered your question, Martin, but let me know if it did. Okay. Ramela Noodle asks, what's your opinion on Louis the Pious? Yeah, but what's my opinion on Louis the Pious? I don't think I have any. Like, he was a king. Not sure there's more than that. I don't really have an opinion. It's over 2 years since I made that video, and yeah, that's back when I had sponsorships. sponsors who did not want to work with me because no one signed up. Etymology is very interesting. Just find a few Polish words of Swedish origin. Balkong, helm, hjälm. Okay. First I'm gonna answer Johannan's questions. There are a lot of myths regarding the Islamic empires. Are you planning to make videos about that? No. No, I'm not. I'm generally interested in European history, like European medieval, sometimes you could, I'm not sure if you can classify ancient history as European history, but I'm generally more interested in like European history when I make videos rather than history outside Europe. Yeah, I'm sure I've made one video about the history of Ethiopia, or like a part of a period in the Ethiopian history, but testing 1 2 3, can anyone hear me? Testing 1 2 3, anyone there? Anyone can hear me? Yo, cool. All right, people can hear me. Right, please write in chat if you can hear me. Oh, perfect, it works. The internet, that's kind of so irritating because I live in a 2-room apartment with my brother, who's in the other room right now. The thing though is that our computer is in one of the rooms, and the router is in the other. And the router, they're like on the opposite sides of the apartment, and there's a wall between them, which I'm not very fond of. Houston, we can hear you. It's awesome, Salishable. I love that people can hear me. So where were we? Okay, a bit, for example, like democracy. Okay, so I'm gonna go back to like what Salishable and Martin Guerra was asking me about, like sticking to the original meaning of words. I would say no. Like, I usually use words that I think people will like understand what they mean. Even if I use words like a Swedish word like riksdag, or no, that's not a good example. And also I think it's a very questionable thing, like asking that, okay, original meaning of words. Yes, words have original meaning, but at the same time, they change meaning historically. And they also arrive in very special circumstances. So, for example, Sweden had been an absolute monarchy in the 17th century. After the loss of the Great Northern War and the peace that followed in 1721, the government changed, so the king almost lost all of its powers. All of his power. And what then happened after that, people started to come up with the Swedish version of absolute monarchy, which roughly translated mean one rule. And when they spoke of one rule, they did not mean that one person rules, but they mean that one person, like the king, have all the power and uses it for bad things. Because after the war, people were not happy with Charles XII because he had kind of prolonged the war for 20 years that Sweden had ultimately lost, and Sweden also had lost its empire, or this, yeah. I don't. Okay, to try to give an answer to the question that Martin Salishbal is asking, I don't usually care about the original meaning of the word. I usually try to use words that are neutral in that they're not politically charged. Politically charged, and that people understand. For example, the word fascist, for example, if I would use that word, I wouldn't I would use that specifically for the movements that happened in Germany and Italy in the 20s and 30s. I would not use them as like broad painting, like because then they're no longer descriptive. Okay, Romela asks, what are my favorite movies and shows? My favorite movies and shows. My favorite movie is Stardust from 2007. If you haven't seen it, Stardust is a movie that it's kind of a fairy tale movie, but directed towards adults. And I think it was based on a book initially. So the movie starts in a like 19th century village with a guy called Tristan. And Tristan is very lovable, very adorable, cares about other people, but he's kind of a dork. He doesn't know what's good for him, and he's hopefully in love with like the pretty girl in town called Victoria, who is not a good person. She's well aware of this, and she takes advantage of him. So, and she is also interested in the cool guy in the village called Humphrey, and Humphrey beats up Tristan quite a lot. But then one night, Tristan manages to get a date with Victoria, where they have a picnic under the stars, like very romantic and stuff. But then Victoria says like, yeah, listen, Humphrey's gonna come back to the village in 3 days, and I'm gonna marry him when he comes back. And Tristan's like, because he's so hopefully engaged in this with this woman, basically says that, no, Victoria, I will do anything for you. And as that happened, in this small village called Wall, there is a wall going by its right side that kind of like that separates it from a forest. And beyond the side of the wall is a magical fantasy kingdom called Stormhold. And have I watched Seventh Steel by Ingmar Bergman? If yes, any comments? No, I have not watched it. Though, anyway, if you haven't seen it, Stardust, amazing movie, 10 out of 10. Great movie. Would never be made today. Too original. Ancient accounts! Thank you! Like, oh my god. I've been waiting for you like all night. Thank you. Yes, 10,000 subscribers. Going strong. I think 1.5 years later than I had hoped for, but 10,000. Yeah, it's Ancient Accounts. Yeah, for those who don't know him, Ancient Accounts makes really dope history videos that I actually get jealous of when I see them because they're so good. They have so high quality production value. That's I just love them. Though he doesn't post that often because he's a programmer and he does important stuff as programming. But we gleefully anticipate that the next video is gonna be up soon. So happy to see you, man. Also the question, have I watched Seven Seal by Ingmar Bergman? No, I have not seen it. I know who Ingmar Bergman is. I'm busy starting. Okay. All right, man. Which semester are you on? Like first one, third one, fourth one? Yeah, I have a friend studying programming. Like the amount of hours you put down on your works. Favorite part of Lord of the Rings? My favorite part in Lord of the Rings. I don't know. Lord of the Rings is like, that's hard. Oh, dude, that's hard. Okay, The Hobbit do not exist for me. I do not like those movies. Favorite part of Lord of the Rings, I don't know. It's like we have 9 to 10 hours of amazing movie. If I had to pick one, I would pick. I don't know what would pick. Favorite part of Lord of the Rings. Favorite part of Lord of the Rings. I would like either that in the second one, where actually I know which one I would pick. I would pick the Battle of Helm's Deep when the orcs have just put down the bombs next to the wall, and they turned fire on the bombs and they've exploded, and the wall is like has a big rip through it, and Aragorn like Gimli saves Aragorn, Aragorn tries to save Gimli, and just in that moment, it's so silly, like Legolas, who is still on the wall, like throws down a shield, jumps on it. Hello, General Grievous 19. Yeah, Charge of the Rohirrim is also good, but he throws down the shield, surfs down on the stairs, while shooting arrows, and it is ridiculous, but it's so good at the same time. Yeah, Charge of the Rohirrim, actually both in Two Towers and Return of the King is very good. Yeah, I would actually, if I had to pick one, I would say the Charge of the Rohirrim and the Two Towers is better, because I think it's better setup than like it is when, although the books are better. Ooh, I never read the books actually, though I guess they're good. Oh my god, we have 12 people watching. That's better than I anticipated. In the beginning it was just me and Salisha Ball. Favorite history book I have read, asks Ancient Accounts. My favorite history books. Yeah, I know if I'm gonna have to pick one. It's not the best book necessarily, but it was very eye-opening for me when I read it. It's a book by, I think, Jennifer Copperclough Dean, and it's a book that I used in my series on the Inquisition. And her books, like, then is about, I used a chapter in her book about inquisitorial practices, and she has a long chapter, like 10 pages, like 5 pages, summarizing the Cathars, who are, like, you know, the heretics, like heretics in southern France. And she wrote, okay, Cathars, you know, usually organized this way. They were called Cathars because so and so. They believe this, they practice this, they organize this way. On and on for 5 pages. But then, after 5 pages, she asks, but okay, wait a minute. How do we know all this? None of the sources we have about the Cathars comes from the Cathars. Everything we have about it is from the what the Inquisitors have written about them. And that really, like, opened my eyes to, like, how do we know certain things in history? Like, you know, how do we also know things with certainty in history, which I guess we don't always know. But that was, just that moment was very eye-opening for me. Plot twists, godly. Yes, that's how we know everything about the Cathars. It's, God revealed it. Jesus Christ came down to earth to reveal what we know about the Cathars. Yeah. Do I have any more questions that I missed? All right. But Ancient Accounts, you have to let us know when is your next video gonna come out, and what's it gonna be about. What would you do if you weren't studying history? Oh, if I weren't studying history, I would work as an urban planner. Shh. Okay, keep your secrets, my friend. What would I do if I weren't studying history? Okay, this is also a bit kind of like personal story of mine. When I left high school and like entered university, I had a bit of an not existential crisis, but I had the feeling that I were just doing stuff because they were expected of me. Like, you know, my parents are both like, they both studied social science and economics, and, you know, I was gonna do that as well, also become like a seller or an accountant somewhere, or an urban planner, I guess, but like do this, work with this. And I kind of felt that, okay, what do I want to do with life? And then I thought, I want to become a scholar in the humanities. First, I thought about philosophy, but I realized I was not good at philosophy. But I was much better at history, and also liked history more than philosophy, because it was, I don't know, I had a better feel for the subject, and also my grades were much better. But then I thought that, okay, because becoming a scholar in history, intellectual history, which is my field in Sweden, it's hard. It's not easy. You gotta be on top of your game. You gotta make that sure that people like you, and you competing with the best of the best, like the A students competing with each other. And then I realized that it may well be that I don't get all the way, and what should I do then? So I thought because, and this might be probably different, you know, kind of like different opportunities depending if you live in Sweden or if you live in England or the US, is that higher education, university education is free, or as more likely better said, tax paid. So you don't pay a tuition, like you can take out loans to support yourself. But I try to avoid doing that. Instead, I instead work a lot on the sides. But then I thought, okay, both live history, but the channel helped me go into uni more grace. Oh, that I'm gonna get back. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna finish it up. And then I thought, okay, if I don't get all the way, what am I gonna do then? So I went into history at 2015. And between 2015 and 2018, got a education in urban planning. And my idea then is that I'm gonna write my bachelor next spring, and after that I'm gonna try to apply for PhD positions. Hello, Lil Maitri, at PhD positions. And if that doesn't work, I go back to uni, get courses in urban planning that are more practical, and that aims to land you closer to the work market, and I'm gonna work as an urban planner, and I'm gonna be happy that I tried. So, okay. So that is what I would do if I weren't studying history. I would be a urban planner somewhere. Okay. Also, Ancient Accounts writes, what's gonna go for comp sci at uni? Comp sci, is that like programming? Uni. I like both, but I love history, and the channel has helped me get into uni. One of my grades good. I'm really happy to hear that, man. Really happy to hear that. Yeah, history, it's the gifts that keeps on giving. Like, and studying history, you never really get finished. And that's also so. That's kind of interesting. That's also something I sometimes wonder, like. Because the work with the channel, and Ancient Accounts can testify to this, it is a lot of work. Like, to make one videos take quill and cement planning. Oh, okay. Is that branding? Okay, so like marketing, I guess. Yeah, but working on a YouTube channel, it takes a load of work. Like, just writing the script takes probably like 5 to 10 hours, or not 5 to 10 hours, depends on the script, but that's usually the range. Like, editing it, I think my video mercantilism took like 100 hours to edit, because it's like over 30 minutes, and yes, it's so much to do. And this history, Ancient Accounts can testify to this as well. I use After Effects, and I'm very sure that's the program you use as well. And the thing with After Effects, when you're finished editing and you're gonna render it, the rendering process always takes like 8 to 10 hours. And almost every single time I try to render it, it renders for 4 hours, and then like 4 hours in, usually it's that I render it during the night, go to sleep, go up, open up the After Effects and see, oh, sorry, there was a problem. There was a problem at the 4th hour, something that doesn't work. Never specify what the problem is, what can't be rendered. And you have to go back there, sit, and like try to change things small. Okay, what if I make this less blurry? What if I'm... And it's such a pain. Like, After Effects, amazing program, but it's such a pain to work with sometimes. Like, such a pain. And what I figure out is that usually the way I've edited them videos before is that before I would like, if I'm gonna make a 16 hours, 16 hour, if I'm gonna make a 16 hour videos, no, if I'm gonna make a 60-minute video, what I usually did was that I just started editing at second 0 and stopped at like continue, like one big file that I rendered. But what I now do instead, which was very effective when I made the Mercantilist video, is that I split it down into chunks to 5 to 7 minutes, edit each part, and then have like an overturn. Like first I edit, if I take my video Mercantilism, for example, first I edited the videos on foreign trade and domestic policy separately from each other, and then I tied them together. And that works much more better. Yes, much more better. Okay, so we have 10 people in here, which it's amazing. Anyone got any more questions? I have around 20 more minutes, if you. Okay, envy your speed. Takes me like 4 weeks to read and synthesize my books. Don't talk about. I will not talk about the editing, my man. I will not. That's like that's kind of like watch. That's you probably my viewers don't know this, and probably other people, like videos from people like Bass Battles or Kings and Generals or what's the name, like History March. I can't watch those videos because I don't see the video. All I see, especially from Bass Battles, because I know he edit those videos alone, I can just see the dozens of hours that he spent, like painstakingly moving every single ship's, like every like corner on the map. You see, oh yes, oh yes. Oh my god, it takes so long to editing, but it's rewarding though, because once you're finished and you make a video. And not seldom when you publish a video you took like 40 hours to edit. I hate that feeling, but like you make a video, like it becomes like you spend 40 hours editing it and it becomes a dud, which was most of my videos like for like 2020. 20 minutes, so many questions, so little time. Well, just ask on, Joannan. Like, I'm here for you, you're here for me. Okay, mostly I'm here for you. And you render it in full video after being... yes. That's also the thing in that you probably... viewers don't know. When you edit in After Effects have different resolutions. And it either has full resolution or quarter. And if you edit in full resolution, it doesn't work. So you kind of like have to switch between quarter and full resolution to see like, if I move this picture here, will it be like clear? Will people, or will... So, okay, Ramala Nudo asks, which video are you most proud of? Video I'm most proud of? It's actually quite a few. The videos that I'm most proud of are generally the videos that I feel that I add something... I feel that I add something new to YouTube, to like the YouTube landscape history-wise that wasn't added. Like, I'm really proud of my Agor video on Hypatia of Alexandria. Really proud of my video on Absolute Monarchy. And also, they're not my best videos, but I just love them. My videos on the history of science in medieval Europe. There's nothing like them. And actually, and this is no joke, I still have the email. I was contacted by a guy in Toronto who was a university teacher and who held an introduction course to intellectual history in medieval Europe. And he asked if he could use my 2 videos on medieval universities and medieval astronomy as material to help people understand the course literature better. So yes, so I have a lot of videos that I'm proud of, but Hypatia of Alexandria, Absolute Monarchy, those are. Also, I like my videos on Gustav Vasa. Those they're very dope. Why don't you get okay, Silesia Ball asks, which history channels do I like the most? My favorite history channels right now is House of History. That German dude does some really good videos who don't get the recognition they deserve. Ancient Accounts, also great videos. And then also, he doesn't make movies much more because he's started working and he works long days. This is Barry's French history. He is the YouTuber that I sometimes wish I was. He has such a strong personality and such a character to his videos that I don't know anyone else that really can replicate. Like there's such a character, such a charm to it, the way he presents stuff, the way he like will pronounce things in original French, and it sounds so cool. Yes, so and also I like with history channels, those are my favorites. Those are the one I usually watch the most. The reason I like them is that I like history channels where there is a flair of amateurishness to it. You know, videos like, you know, Kings of Generals, History Marsh, you know, Crash Course and stuff like that. Great videos, you know, whatever, well edited. But I think they kind of lose their charm in a bit. It feels like there's a team behind it, like it feels corporatized. Jack Rackham. I know about his channel, but I never watch his videos. Or no, I watch his videos on Charles XII. He does great. Does some great editing, great humor. Those, yeah, but Ancient Accounts, House of History, Barris. Okay. Johannan asks, why don't you get someone who can edit your videos? Because I'm a poor student and I can't afford to hire anyone to edit the videos. Like, I'm a student, I study history. On the side, I work a low-paying job arranging Laserdoom battles and working as a bartender at a place down the street to be able to pay rent. And yeah, I have money, like, enough, but I don't have the money to, like, hire anyone right now. Okay. Do I play any, or just gonna see, which history channel I like the most? Animated, or I believe this is from a camera. Do I play any games? Yes, I do. What games do I play? Currently, I play Rocket League a lot. It's a fun game. It's so easy to get into, but so hard to master. And it's very fast-paced, and yeah, I just love the game. It's especially good to combine with studies, because if you work and study a lot, you sometimes have that like 45 minutes, 30 minutes in between your study session where you can just jump in, play for. Wait, Ancient Accounts, do you also play Rocket League? No secret this time. It's like, oh, you also play Rocket League. We gotta play together. Bro, okay, don't write here, but like, write me your Steam name. Someday, because also you're England, I'm Swedish. You live in England, I live in Swedish. There's no time difference. We can play together. I want to play Bart. Yes, also, I haven't played them much last year. But also Paradox. Their games are really dope. It's kind of fun. They released Crusader Kings free not that long ago, but I didn't buy it because Crusader Kings 2 has so much game value for me. Even though I played it for like 9 years, I still can jump in and have fun in it. Yes, Paradox. What would Sweden be without you? Your stocks are not good, but like your games are good. That's Ease Wild Jack recommended to play. Yeah, so Rocket League, Paradox games, what more? I tried to play The Witcher 3. I bought it when it came out, but I've never finished it really. Like, oh yes, Victoria 3. Oh, I'm so hyped for that game. Oh yeah, Total War games. The Total War games are good, so I feel they're much more and more becoming Warhammer Total War rather than just Total War. Because the Warhammer Total War series is very dope, even though I don't play it that much. Also, another game is that I have a German friend who live down the street. Like, we go to the gym together often. We play games together, and one game we started to play is Vermintide 2. Think of it like Team Left 4 Dead, but with the Warhammer character. So like, there's one guy, human guy, who's a mercenary with a big sword, one elven ranger, one dwarf who's like dressed in huge armor and with 2 pistols, so that he kills. Yeah, that's also a good game if you have someone to play with. Playing alone is useless. You're better, not my ego will be shut. I'm sorry, I'm quite decent at aerials, and to play you kind of have to be good at aerials, because the people you play with will be good at aerials. Yeah. Dwarf Fortress 2, I've heard about it, though I never played it. It's an old Paradox game. Okay, that's there died my plan of playing Rocket League. I'm only gold ranked now. Okay, I'm in Diamond, and I maybe can get you to Diamond, hopefully. Okay, so yeah, Victoria Free, waiting for that a lot as well. Otherwise, yeah, they're kind of like, yeah, that's the thing I like with like games today, is that, yeah, a lot of games that comes out today are garbage when they come out and like patched. Okay. Here's a fun question. How much Scandinavian languages are incomprehensible, i.e. how much Norwegian or Danish to Swedish understand? I would love to talk about this. Is the thing, Danish, Norwegian, okay, I'm gonna speak in terms of Danish and Swedish, because all the Scandinavian languages are very closely tied together. Though, if I listen to Danish people speaking Danish, it just sounds like gibberish. It sounds like, I'm not gonna try to pretend that I can sound Danish. But here's the thing, and I've talked to, this is the true for Danish people as well. When I pick up a text that's written in Danish, I understand 70%. I can understand 70% of what's written, because the languages are, yeah, they're different, but they're so similar to each other. It's so similar. They're so similar to each other that if I would go to Germany, like, and live there, I would have to like take classes in German and like practice it. If I would go to Denmark, I would just kind of like have to talk to Danish people and figure out that, okay, this word means this word. In this sentences, yeah, these words mean these things, but a lot of words are similar. They'll pronounce a bit differently. And then after 2 months, I think, I would be able to like not speak Danish perfectly, but perfectly enough that both me and a Danish person would understand each other. So yeah, they're very similar. Okay, Johanan asks, I always wanted to talk about history on YouTube, even though I'm just a layman. However, I have a full-time job on which I depend on very much. Do you have any advice? Okay, my advice would be, if you want to talk on history on YouTube, is, I don't know, like, don't, yeah. My advice is just to start and explain the stuff like no one has pre-existing knowledge of on the topic. Yes, I would say, yeah, that's a good strategy. Just start. And start small. Don't like think that you're gonna, like, for example, I use Photoshop, After Effects, like, they're very expensive programs. But don't, yeah, you will also find your voice eventually. Like, I still... Okay, if I wouldn't get my advice, I remember a guy called Dimitri emailed me about this, and I kind of wrote a 1-page document about advice I would give him. I would say start small and start. Don't invest too much too early in it, because you may not have time for it, and you don't want to have too much sunk costs. But I also say, just start. if you have time and you like it, stick to it, even if it's hard in the beginning. Read up on search engine optimization, as well as like, ways to make videos, whether you're like want to be in front of the camera or behind the camera, and like do Johannan, if you send me an email, I could write a more like comprehensive list of tips I could give you. So just and also use different emails for stuff. Like your YouTube email should not be public knowledge. Like this is my contact email. It's not the email that YouTube contacts me via. And just stick with it. If your heart's in the right place, it's gonna go decently. Okay, send me the doc. Yes, sure, I will. Just send me an email. I will send you back the doc. But the thing is, if I can like bring you back to when I started the YouTube channel, of course, if you don't let it go out over your work. Like you need to feed yourself, and like work is important for that. Though I would say like when I started off YouTube, like in 2016, 2017. Okay. All right, ancient accounts. Have a good night, and I'll see you another day. When I started off my YouTube channel, 2016, 2017, I had no clue what I was doing. Like, my first video was made very rudimentarily in the iMovie, but, I stuck with it. You figure it out eventually, just stick with it. See you on Rocket League soon. I will, my man. Okay, I'm gonna have to leave very soon. Do any of you people who are here have any questions that you want to ask me about either me, the channel, the future of the channel, about other history YouTubers? I've had a blast talking to you guys. It's been so fun. I loved it. We need to do this more often. I'm gonna do another live stream in the future, and I'm gonna talk with another person on it, like ancient accounts or maybe someone else who would be interested. Any more questions, guys? Or you okay if we call it a night? Do more live streams. Sure will, Johannan. Johannan, it's a very interesting name, Johannan, because that was fun. Yeah, I had a blast today, and that's also a thing I forgot to mention. But I want to create a kind of more community-like feeling. Yeah, live streams, playing games. Sure will. Yeah, because I want to create a more. Also, if any of you guys know how to set up a Discord, send me an email and tell me how to do it, because I want to have more of a community around my channel, because I think that's been quite lacking. It's a used version of my Slavic name. That's very cool. That's very cool. Yeah, but I want to have more community around the channel, because so far for the last 5 years, it's just me making videos and like interacting with you in the comments. But it's kind of been very. Usually it's me making a video to you, and it's not been like more closer, any closer connection to that. And I would like to have more of a community around the channel. It makes more announce. Absolutely, I will announce a couple days ahead. All right, if there's no more questions, I must thank you all for showing up tonight. I had a blast today, and I hope you do as well. And I will absolutely do more live stream. This has been so fun. And I hope I get more people talking on the live stream, so it's not just me, but like maybe me, Ancient Accounts, or House of History. Maybe it would be cool to like have. Nah. I think he's too big to be on the stream, even though we live in the same city. Good night, guys. See ya.